I have a timer here on my side, 10 minutes, but I'll probably, I don't know. Can you see anyone when you're presenting, Mark? No, right?
It depends. I think if I'm no, not when I'm in. So
Yeah.
I'm looking at the first slide now. Can you
Okay.
guys see that?
Yeah, we can see that. We'll
Yeah.
just, yeah, maybe I'll warn you on 9 minutes. Um,
Yeah, sure. I have it. I have it scripted in time, so it's. I'm pretty sure I keep it to time. The only thing that might take time is that I have one other tab open for my prototype in Figma. Um, so I suppose I stop sharing this page and go to that
okay.
tab, and I can run through it. So hopefully that will run smoothly. I don't have any other tabs open, so
That's,
hopefully it'll go smoothly.
yeah, that's not a problem at all. Yeah, we can wait a few minutes. That's fine. Okay, perfect. Do you want to start?
Sure, ready to go?
Yeah.
Okay, okay. Okay, so thanks very much, and hello everybody. I'm Mark, and I've been working on the conversation history feature of ChatGPT. As an early stage UX designer with a background in psychology and cognitive science, I'm really intrigued on how people interact with this technology. I'm keen to see how it becomes more and more efficient and user friendly. So, just to give you all a heads up from the outset, my project is at the prototype stage. I'll be conducting usability testing and iterations before it's complete. So as you can see, the ChatGPT interface is clean and intuitive and designed with the users in mind. The enhancement opportunity here concerns the conversational panel to the left of the ChatGPT page. In the screenshot, you can see on the left-hand side, all the previous conversations are listed in chronological order. If a person is using ChatGPT very regularly, you can end up scrolling through a long list of previous conversations. Some users of this tool use it in such a way that they like to return to previous conversations to add to them. And therein lies the issue. If you have a lot of previous conversations and you're in the habit of regularly accessing them, you can run into a little bit of difficulty. There is potential difficulty in efficiently retrieving past conversations. There can be frustration due to a cluttered interface, and there can be confusion caused by mischaracterized conversations. So in terms of the design process, I'm using the double diamond framework. I found it to be great for structuring the overall approach. I especially like the systematic alternation between divergent and convergent thinking. In terms of the stages of design, I began with the discover stage, which consisted of exploratory research to try and identify if there was indeed an issue with the current design of the feature and if there was an opportunity for enhancement. The define stage was an examination of user requirements based on the discovery phase. It culminated with the defining of a problem statement. The develop stage consisted of creating and iterating on design solutions, including wireframing, mockups, and prototyping. And the deliver stage is where I am at the moment. I want to conduct usability testing to help finalize and implement the design solution. So for the discover stage, I conducted a search of user reviews from multiple platforms. The search highlighted some of the primary issues which centered around the lack of organizational features and difficulty in navigating past conversations. I conducted a mixed methods survey which had 26 respondents. The survey revealed the primary uses of ChatGPT, key points of dissatisfaction, and some suggestions for improvement. I then conducted 5 user interviews. The insights from the analysis of the qualitative data highlighted a clear opportunity to enhance the conversation history sidebar. It became clear that improvements could potentially reduce time and cognitive effort in managing conversation threads. The define stage consisted of persona development, empathy mapping, and a prioritization matrix. And these culminated in the crafting of a problem statement. For persona development, I wanted to develop 2 personas, one primary and one secondary. The primary persona is a more heavy or regular user. The secondary persona is a more casual or infrequent user of ChatGPT. I wanted to make sure that the problem statement addressed issues related to both types of users. I created an empathy map based on the primary persona, Daniel, provides an insight into what he might say, think, do, and feel. Some information about the Daniel persona that's relevant to the design solutions and prototype is that Daniel uses ChatGPT a lot. He's an instructional designer who uses it to create course content. He also works for a family business, a cafe. He manages the social media content. He's constantly trying to retrieve previous conversations and add to them so he can leverage the adaptability feature of ChatGPT. So just to remind you, the adaptability feature is what allows ChatGPT to learn from the content that the user provides so that it can refine its responses and deliver more and more personalized and relevant information. I then created a prioritization matrix where I listed the various problems and issues from the research data and arranged them in terms of priority and feasibility. Issues in terms of high priority and high feasibility included inefficient search capabilities and a cluttered interface. So the design stage culminated with the crafting of a problem statement. This was based on user goals and needs, pain points, and insights from research. In terms of the goals and needs, users expressed a desire to engage with ChatGPT for a variety of topics across, often within the same session. Heavier users also wanted to build upon previous conversations. Pain points included difficulty in locating past conversations and the lack of an efficient search function. Insights from research reveal that regular users require an advanced search feature and better conversation thread management. So, problem statement was crafted to address these points. It states, as a regular user of ChatGPT, I want an efficient way to organize my conversation history so that I can quickly retrieve relevant past interactions and seamlessly continue my work, leading to improved productivity and a more streamlined workflow. This statement is also applicable to the secondary persona. In terms of the design of proposed solutions, I created a series of mock-ups to include the redesigned conversation history sidebar. The emphasis here was on improved searchability and organization of conversational threads. You can get an idea from the screenshot where about the function buttons would appear on the interface. I have them colored green here just for presentation purposes, but they'll ultimately blend in more seamlessly with the rest of the interface. You can see on the slide here a little bit more clearly. This is a slightly close-up version of the top of the conversation panel. The proposed features include a search function where the user can easily locate past conversations using a keyword search within conversation title. There's also a tagging function to help organize conversations by applying tags based on topics or categories. And then there's also a folder system. This involves a nested folder structure to categorize conversations, which will help better organize and retrieve conversation threads. It's worth bearing in mind that these are just everyday functions that users probably regularly engage with in other apps. This is my own interpretation of how the conversation history panel might be enhanced. It's going to take usability testing to discover if these are indeed plausible solutions. So in terms of the prototype, I can switch to Figma. I can, should be here. Okay. So I can you see the, Valentina, can you see that screen okay?
Yeah, I can see the prototype, yeah.
Great, okay. So if we start with the search function, imagine a scenario where our persona, Daniel, he has an expansive list of conversation threads, and they range from his course content creation to social media management for the family cafe, and lots of other personal interest conversation threads as well. We imagine that Daniel wants to engage in a task related to family business, and he wants to revive, say, a promotional thread for seasonal coffee blend in the cafe. He remembers working on this conversation and he wants to find it again. So he engages the search function, which opens the search bar, and he types the word coffee. This returns maybe 5 potentially relevant previous conversations. He wants to further refine a search, so he adds the word blend. This refines the results to maybe 3 conversations. Then he remembers that it was a seasonal coffee blending. He adds the word seasonal, and he gets the conversation that he was looking for. Clicks on it, and his previous conversation is there. So that's straightforward enough. The tag function then. So while Daniel is working on this particular conversation thread, he decides that in order to be able to access it more easily, he wants to add two different tags to it. He selects the tag option, and the tag interface opens up while the conversation thread is highlighted. He applies two tags. The first is social media management, and then the second is cafe content creation. The tags are now visible beside the conversation thread title. They're distinctly colored to help facilitate more efficient recognition and retrievability. And then the third function is the folder function. So Daniel might sometimes prefer to use a folder or a nested folder system to organize his conversation thread. So firstly, he clicks the folders button to reveal a list of parent folders that he's currently working on. He can either open a folder to see the conversations listed in chronological order, or he can arrange his conversations into subfolders within parent folders, like that. Okay, so that's just a quick look at the prototype. I'm going to go back to just the end of the presentation, if that's okay. So the next steps are usability testing, iteration, and case study preparation. I currently have participants lined up to participate in usability testing. Looking forward to hearing their feedback and iterating on any improvements they suggest. Once the design solutions are finalized, I'll be ready to prepare as a portfolio case study. So I'd like to thank you all for your very kind attention. I'd like to thank Rob for all his advice and insight. Valentina, I'll give it back to you and take any questions or suggestions that anybody might have.
Thank you so much, Mark. That was great, and fair play to you with all the things that happened there on your side for having the presentation ready and so much work you've put on this. So many claps there, guys. Well done. I'm going to hand it over to Rob now if he wants to say a few words.
Yeah, sure. I don't want to. Mark's kind of heard a lot of my feedback, so I don't want to take up too much time. But I think the thing I've really liked, about this project is the kind of the split between the heavy user and the casual user, and trying to accommodate both. Obviously, focusing on the heavy user, that's where our interest is. But I think even the way that the features have been implemented in the design kind of shows they're kind of opt-in. The standard experience is still there, which I think is interesting. I think it's going to be interesting to see how that plays out during usability tests, just to make sure that the discoverability of those features is there, and people, to get how to interact with them, because as you said, they're pretty standard patterns. So I think the key thing is going to be discoverability. But I think it's really good. I think the next iteration of the design, I'm really interested in seeing that after doing some usability tests. And just to echo Valentina, I think it's quite sometimes when there's not much on an interface, it can be quite difficult to come up with features. And I think taking just a great approach through research and very disciplined with not putting the cart before the horse. And it's been lovely working with you. So and that will kind of continue, I think, going forward. So I'm curious to see how we end up.
Very good. Well done, guys. Well done, both of you. I think what makes it so beautiful is your kind of teamwork and how you manage to work together. And I'm sure, Mark, that you had lots of support in Rob, and Rob, you did a great job as well. So fair play to you both. Does anyone have any questions there for Mark? Or any feedback?
Hey, Mark, I have a question.
Yeah.
First of all, I'd love to give you feedback as well, too, because I loved the way you introduced things and described the problem and described everything. I mean, I thought your slides were just really well done. You didn't just, you didn't overload us. You really walked us through everything in a really timely, very astute manner. So it's well noted. And they might have just been slightly text heavy, but I think they were really well done. I was wondering about your prototype. Do you envision the objects that you showed at the end, the folder and the tag concept, to be something that could be perhaps auto-structured by the tool itself, so that it's almost like it's recommended, so that it even becomes an additional easy thing? Because I thought it was a rather clever experience that you created.
It's a really good question, and actually that came up in the research in the user interviews. At least 2 out of the 5 people, I remember quite clearly, asked if they would prefer if this was, I suppose, like automated or sort of done for you nearly. So I think 2 people mentioned that. One person said that they would like the option to either implement that themselves or for it to do it, be done for them. So just like the way that the names or the titles of conversation threads, you can opt in for to name it yourself, or it will suggest the title for you. There's plenty of scope for that to be introduced in it. I suppose it depends on the person. Do they want to control themselves, or do they want the convenience or having it done for them? So ideally, I would like to see both options. Yeah.
Well, just great stuff. Just want to make sure I note that. I really enjoyed also that the way you introduced yourself and your passion was really resonated with me. So I really appreciated it.
Thanks, Ricardo. I had to shorten that all the way down because it started spiraling out of control.
Oh, that was great. Thanks, Ricardo. Anyone else? Any questions?
Yeah, I just wanted to make a comment as well, Mark, that I thought your presentation was really clear. Like, it was really, really easy to understand. And when are you planning to do set up the user testing?
The user testing, I want to have completed ideally by the end of next week, because I would like to try and maintain the course schedule. I do have participants lined up, but I'm going to have to figure out what the task is going to be. So, will I be asking the participant to imagine a scenario like the persona? Will I ask them to put themselves in Daniel's shoes and ask them to walk through this task and give me feedback on that? Like, that's what I'm leaning towards, because I'm not quite sure.
Because otherwise you wouldn't be able to, I don't think you'll have that functionality in a prototype where you could search it. So I think that's perfectly fine to give them a scenario and then for them to kind of pretend like they're searching, because that will still, you'll still be able to like work out things in the functionality. Because there was just one thing in the functionality that I just saw, and it was the search. When you search, you can't see, or it's difficult to see the topics and the folders. They disappear because the search gets bigger. So just, I think that probably will come up in your user testing, but it will, just because it's such a good presentation. And if you're using this one going forward, like showing other people, that's definitely something to catch.
Okay. Brilliant. Noted. Yeah, so hopefully, and I'm glad to get that feedback that it's a viable option for usability testing, because that was kind of the best that I could come up with, and I was a little worried.
It would be impossible for you. Like, I think all you can do there is be like, it would be great if we had like a proper search engine, but like we have to work with what we have. So I think it's grand to do that.
Yeah, brilliant. Thank you. Great.
Yeah, that makes sense. I think Nee was facing very similar issue, because like you can do only so much with ChatGPT, and it's very text heavy, so it's impossible to test it properly. So yeah, fair play to you, Mark. It looks great.
Yeah, well done.
Yeah.
Really, really interesting as well.
Really. Yeah.
And really well explained.
Yeah. Really nice. Yeah. Really, really nice story. Very good presentation, as the guys said as well. Like, you kind of broke it into smaller, kind of digestible bits, and everything was really like, it was a pleasure listening to you and seeing how you progress with the project. Amazing. Well done, Mark.
Thank you.
Great. Last clap for Mark here. On to Aoife. Aoife, are you ready?
I'm ready. Yeah. I'll just share my screen here.
Yeah.
Okay. Hello everyone. Hope you're all doing well. Yeah. So I'd like to present my final project on improving the search experience of the Daft mobile app. My mentor was Aisling. She was absolutely amazing throughout. So shout out to you, Aisling. So yeah, to get going, I suppose just a bit of an overview again about why I chose this project. Daft is Ireland's #1 property searching app, and I'd found that there was some kind of core problems and limitations with the core function of the app, which is searching for a property. So I decided to hone in on this area for my project. Oops, I went backwards. Yeah, so a bit of an overview on my research from the discover phase. So there's a lot going on this slide, bear with me, but I had kind of my online app store reviews kind of to find out the initial pain points with the users. And then my competitive analysis really highlighted like how competitors allow users to add locations and how they do filters, which was really interesting. I also conducted some user testing and user interviewing. The user interviewing was really, really useful for finding out about users' behaviors, and the testing itself really highlighted to me that a lot of users were having to work with Daft rather than Daft work for them. So moving on from my research phase, I then went into my define phase. So taking all my research, I conducted some empathy maps and had a few personas, but decided to go with my persona of the novice renter as my target persona for the project. So just to summarize, I suppose, the key findings then from that first phase, the start of the searching process, I found from my research was overcomplicated and caused confusion. Location searching was also very specific and time consuming. Then also refining a search was quite mentally draining for users, and the language was unclear. Also, the no results screen found to users shown to users resulted in this trial and error approach, which was very frustrating for them. And then finally, the save search. Users found it hard to save a search, and it wasn't initially shown to users at the start of their journey as a way to streamline their returning journey. So then I had my how might we. So I created 5 how might we's. I tackled about 4 of them out of the 5, which I'll talk about later. But basically, they distilled down into this one how might we, which I used for my project, which was how might we make the property searching experience for mobile Daft users clear and more intuitive, so that they can be as efficient as possible in finding a property that suits their needs. So that brought me then into my design phase. So I spent quite a bit of time paper prototyping. I much prefer that to lo-fi wireframing. I just kind of get caught up with for like doing the paper prototypes. I did out some crazy eights, kind of word diagram stuff, and kind of just reread some of the post-it notes from my user testing sessions. But kind of at this stage, I was kind of in a bit of a rut with it, because I kept kind of focusing on like the existing Daft flow and how I could iterate on that, when actually Aisling gave me really good advice this stage. She was kind of like, just put Daft to the side for a second and literally just think about the research that you have and the pain points that you have with that user, and just think about the property searching experience in general and what that could look like. So that was really good advice, because I kind of then got to be a bit more creative with my next stage, and kind of took me out of just focusing on Daft so much. So then, yeah, I got into my lo-fi wireframes. So I tested this with one user just for kind of proof of concept, but found that I was kind of overcomplicating some of the filters still. but it was good to kind of do it out in the wireframes then, because it kind of teased out this kind of idea that I had to explore further. So yeah, that kind of then gave me confidence to head into my hi-fi phase. So I kind of followed out with my how might we's as I went through this part. So the first how might we make the search page easy and simple to understand. So on the left here I have the Daft current state on the app, and on the right is my design. So as you can see, there's like 4 different ways to enter into the current Daft search page. So I wanted to streamline that for users to make it just very clear the first time onto Daft where to go to start their search. So then with my second how might we help the user to refine their house search in an engaging way. So for this one, kind of my perspective on this part was that basically when anyone is searching for a property, there's kind of 3 core questions to ask. It's, are you looking to rent or buy? What are you looking to rent or buy, and where? So and kind of the rest is secondary, like the price and the bedrooms are all like secondary information. So I kind of wanted to help the user prioritize that information. So I created this kind of profile concept to help them focus their attention on what was important, and then later they would see that the rest was secondary. For example, you can see with Daft now, they have that all in one screen together, and it's hard for the user to know what's most important. And also, I found from my testing, some people were filling in like bathrooms and bedrooms before they'd even filled in location, which is obviously silly. So that was my idea for this how might we. My third one was how might we give users greater control and flexibility over location searching. So this one was really like prominent from the very onset of my research with Daft. Like a lot of people had mentioned, like on online app reviews, about this idea of giving a draw circle around your location. So like right now in Daft, you have to select a predefined area, but people really like this idea of being able to select their own area and excluding certain areas. So that was my idea going forward into the first iteration prototype for this how might we. And then my final one of the how might we's was how might we add clarity and efficiency to the returning search journey. So I wanted to have like a visual trigger for the user to come back in and kind of know that this was the search that they were looking at, and the rent, the type of property, and the location. And I also had this map view where people could click and see the houses on a map, which a lot of people loved. I think there's a lot of map people in the world. But so yeah, they were my kind of focus areas for my how might we's. So I'll show you my prototype now. Unfortunately, I didn't get to put my testing results into the prototype. So the one I'm showing you is the one that I tested with users. So yeah, so the first scenario I created was to ask users, like pretend you've just moved to Dublin and you've just downloaded the Daft app. Take me through finding a suitable rental property. So people would come in here, they'd come to the create search screen, and they'd answer the question, are you looking to buy or rent? So they'd click rent. And then what type of place are you looking to rent? So they could scroll through here and kind of pick whatever. So pick house. And then where do you want to rent? So they had the option to type in address. I left that there so that they could click, they could put in Howth and Clontarf, or they could X that off and instead do the draw search area on the map. So here the user clicked draw search and located the area they wanted to search. And then, or else they could pick radius view. So this idea of having like a set radius, and they can just reduce or increase the radius size. So continuing on from that, then they were brought to the filter screen. So they'd add in like price here. So like 3,000, the number of bedrooms, number of bathrooms, and then they could click to add more, to show more filters. So I had various filters here, like they could click detached, semi-detached, the amount of floor space, plot area, furnishing, and then I had facilities. So like if a user clicked like bills included here, it would pop up to say only a few results for the search, remove some of the filters you've just applied to give you more results options. So because they just added that, there's only 5 results. So most users then would take that off to come back to the 87 results. So then they kept going down, filling in any of the facilities they wanted, the energy efficiency, construction year, and keyword search to personalize their search a bit more. So then the user would click the show 87 results and be brought to the property searching page. So I asked a few questions on this page, but the kind of second scenario then I had was the returning flow. So I asked users, it's been a few days since you've used Daft, come back in and show me, could you come back? Could you continue your search from the last time? So people would go back in to the profile here, and they were able to, 5 out of 5 were able to do that. And then also I asked them to expand their search, and they could click into the create new search. So yeah, that was my prototype that I tested. I won't get into the details of the testing just as a matter of time, but yeah, I tested with 5 people for 40-minute sessions. So some of the main learnings that I got out of the testing was that overall people found it quite intuitive and easy to use. They really liked the iconography, and the profiles were really notable positive areas. Similarly, with the drawn location search, people liked that it gave them more flexibility. Some of the issues that I found for my prototype was, while they liked the profile concept, they weren't sure whether it was saved or not. So a lot of people were asking me, like, is this saved, or do I save it at the end? Also, the pop-up that comes up to inform people about few results, like 3 out of 5 people didn't see that or didn't acknowledge it. And then the final thing was that while people were able to go back and look at their past search quite easily, there were issues regarding the name of the search. So, for example, the fact it just says Hoth, people were like, I can't remember, like I'd put a few different locations in that, how am I meant to, it didn't trigger them to remember what the search was. And so that was very interesting to learn from my prototype. So yeah, some of my next steps, obviously to iterate on the prototype based on what I learned. I would specifically like to work on this confirmation idea of the profile, maybe like inputting a screen post, inputting your location where it would say, would you like to save this search, and then perhaps name it. So I could put in like Aoife's dream house search, and then the next time I come in, I'll be more triggered to remember that this is the search that I was, that I want to find my dream home. But I don't know, I think I'd need to think about that one a bit more, but that's kind of my idea for that. And then I also like to revisit my how might we make users feel more confident. I don't think I really fully did that properly. Like the pop-up I don't know if that really fully covers that, so I'd like to explore that further. And then I kind of work on some of the colors in the prototype, and then just fix some of the basic kind of usability issues I found when I was testing with people. And then validate them again with another round of testing. And then I would also do a prioritization matrix. So for the MVP of the design, I think what Daft could do, like, which would be really high value, like high priority for them, I think should be the location searching with adding the drawn circle. I think that would really add a lot of value for Daft users. And then the fourth step, I'd probably obviously prepare handoff to development. So kind of communicate my like research, and obviously if this was real life, I would have been doing this in smaller chunks and probably doing this as I go. So but yeah, kind of getting everything ready to hand off to development. And I would have also loved to have looked at the how to edit your save search, and also just the idea in general of having viewed and just added tags on properties. Like that's outside the scope of what I was doing, but it seems like such a quick win for Daft to kind of just improve the experience a bit more. So yeah, finally, just what I would have done differently. I feel like a lot of people would say this, but probably conduct more real world observations. Like it would have been really good to see somebody actually like in their like going to sit down and actually like inquire, like message someone on a property and seeing them really in a more real life environment. And also interview like different categories of people. So like specifically say students and young professionals. I think that would have been really interesting. And then on the filter side, I think the filters was such a hard one because I didn't want to overwhelm people with too many filters, but then you also want to give people the option of being able to like have like filters to choose from. So I think I would have done like maybe a survey to kind of figure out what could be excluded, what could be included. Yeah, and just kind of like just spend a bit more time with the filters and figuring out what people kind of prioritize. So yeah, thank you. Sorry, I think I went over time. I definitely did. But yeah, if anyone has any questions.
Just a little bit, but you were great. Well done, Eva.
Thank you.
Ash, do you want to go first?
Yeah, sure. Well done, Aoife. I won't give too much feedback because I'm obviously in the loop about the project, but just well done, Aoife. That was a really great presentation. And also, you know, well done. It's really great to see where you ended up and where you started. You have a great attitude and you were so lovely to mentor, and you have a really you were so adaptive with taking feedback on board and incorporating that and iterating. And I think that's such a good skill to have. It's something that I know in work at the moment, we always get feedback from other designers and take it on board and iterate. And you've such a lovely thought process as well. And I think that was pretty clear from where you started to where you ended up. So just well done, and well done on getting the presentation done tonight. And I know Aoife's had an insane few weeks with work. So just on top of that, the fact that you got here tonight and did the presentation and were able to bring us all through your process, just big boolabus. Well done, Aoife.
Thanks so much, Aisling. Appreciate that. Thanks so much.
Very good. Well done, girls. No, it's great. It's amazing. Like the project presentation, also slides. You know, your final designs as well. Actually, sorry, just one second. Your final designs as well. How you kind of went from the problem. I really liked how you said it as well at the beginning. You kind of realize that users are working for Daft instead of, you know, being vice versa, basically Daft working for them. So I thought it was a really good kind of, you know, way to say it, because it is like, you know, it's completely the way it is. Also how you kind of said, okay, I tried to you know, pack it in Daft, but then Aisling, you also suggested to just kind of leave Daft aside and start, you know, to create your own solution. I think it does take a lot of kind of time and effort to basically, you know, scrap everything and start from scratch, which I think that's a really good personality that a designer can have, because like that will happen a lot in your work as well. So that's great. And yeah, like on your slides, how you had your before and after as well. It kind of, you know, the story that you said was very, very nice, and it was really easy to follow and everything. Like the ideas as well, draw and radius. Sorry, I had a lot of notes here. And the usage of icons, which I also think that some of your participants also said that they like it. So yeah, all in all, great stuff, and really looking forward to see your case study.
Thanks,
Well
Thanks
done,
a lot.
girls. Sorry, Ricardo, you raised your hand. I cut you off there.
No, you didn't cut me off. Aoife, I just wanted to really kind of echo what people said. I think that there's clearly a lot of work that went into this. And one of the points I found really interesting was when you did switch and decide to follow, you know, what you felt was the best, that you really did turn out a very, very attractive piece. I really think it's having been someone that goes through this process a lot of looking for rentals, I was really appreciative of it. The one question I have that would be more of a food for thought for you would be, like, what would you consider abandoning out of it if you had to? So because you've got quite a good product there, but if someone came back to you and said, this is great, but we can't do it all, we have to leave something out, I'm not asking you that to answer. I'm asking for you to think of it, because there's so many great features you've put in there. It would be really interesting for you to tell me at some point, or tell us at some point, I had to, you know, if I had to leave something on the table, it was X. Because it's always great to front load it like you've done, but I'd be curious to see what you felt the user could still get away with. Because you had a lot of really great features in there.
Yeah, I actually, there is kind of some things that come to mind, like the keyword search, for example. That's a lot of competitor apps, the ability to put in like a porch or whatever. I probably would, that would be something that I would like to test to see if people would like, if they cared if that was gone or not, because especially with Daft, I feel like with the market, the housing market currently, if someone puts in something like a porch, it's just going to show them no results or very limited results. So that's probably something I think could probably go, and I have a few other in mind as well. But yeah, great point. It's thanks so much, Ricardo.
I'm curious. I'm also curious to how hard you would fight for what I feel is a really key feature, which is the draw the circle. And
Yeah.
I love that you also introduced that opportunity to create the radius. I can just imagine the technology that the engineers would say behind that, especially if they're the type that dig their heels in. So, I'd be really curious to see how hard you would fight for that, because I think you should. But I think it's great work. Fabulous stuff.
Thanks, Ricardo.
Very good. Thanks, Ricardo. Rob, do you want to go next?
Yeah, I just want to, I think it's excellent, excellent slides, presentation, and projects. I just wanted to call out two things specifically that I thought that I really liked. One was, I love when other designers talk about getting stuck, because if you read case studies all the time, you start to feel like you're the only one that gets stuck. And actually, I think it's what we do when we're stuck that is, our kind of quality. So yeah, I think that's really good to include in the presentation. Just when you're at that paper prototyping stage, you hit a wall, but you defined what the wall was, and then you got away from that, and then it showed the strength of that. I thought that was great. And the other insight I just really liked was splitting apart what's important, what are the primary things and what are the secondary things. That's just something that, not to generalize, but like when you're in a place and they do things a certain way, no one's going to put their hand up and say, actually, 70% of this is secondary to 30% of it. We need to put that up front. And I think that is often where innovation really happens in companies, where there's someone who can advocate for changing the viewpoint. And I think you actually, as soon as you said it, it was complete. It was almost like, of course, like how has no one thought of that already? So I think it was a great insight and explained really well. But yeah, I just wanted to call out those two things. That they're both excellent. But yeah, the whole project is just so strong. Well done.
Thanks so much, Rob. Thank you. Really appreciate that. Thanks.
Well done. Thanks, Rob. Dave, do you want to go in?
Yeah. Hi, Aoife, how's it going? Well done.
Yeah.
That was really
Dave.
good.
Thanks
I came
so
in
much.
kind of halfway through, so I only caught the latter half of it, but it looked brilliant. Like, everything I saw was really good. A couple of things that I made notes of. Your "how might we" I thought was brilliant. Just the way you had the kind of how it is at the moment and what you're proposing. Like, having those two kind of visuals are really, really good. Like, a really kind of a powerful way of telling a story, I think. So well done on that. I love the way you do your paper prototyping as well. I think a lot of people, when they learn the tools, they tend to cast that aside and just kind of stick to wireframing or whatever. So that was really good. And the draw search, had you seen that before? Does that exist, or is it?
Yeah, it exists. There's a German app that also does it kind of the same way. And it exists.
Yeah.
Cool.
So,
Excellent.
yeah.
That's a really nice idea. Yeah, I think that would be great. As Ricardo said, I mean, the developers might have a hissy fit if you
I know.
to do that, but
I was thinking about that. The actual implementation of that, I'd say, is crazy, but like, I think it would be a good one to go for.
Push hard for it. Yeah.
People themselves say it on Daft app stores. Like, I don't know where they've seen it, but people want to be able to draw. So maybe they've seen it somewhere else or whatever. I don't know, but yeah.
Yeah, cool. And lastly, I thought it was great on your final slide. You mentioned about handoff to developers, and I think a lot of juniors don't even consider that before they start working in jobs. It's kind of they kind of realize when they meet the development team that they have to communicate with people. So it's good to have a nod to that. I think people will see that in your case study, and it'll really kind of jump out as something quite mature. So well done.
Thanks so much, Dave. Appreciate the feedback. Thank you.
Very good. Okay, Russ, last round of applause for Aoife. Sorry, wrong emoji. And moving on to you, Emily. Well done, guys.
Thanks so much.
Thanks, Val.
Yeah.
I'll just share my screen.
Okay, can you see that there?
Yeah.
Perfect. Okay, so just a quick recap to start, just on the first half of the project. So I have been working on redesigning the in-app adverts purchasing journey, and my mentor is Dave, who's been very helpful throughout the process and given me loads of good feedback. So then I'll just dive right in. So just an overview of the project. Adverts is an Irish community-based marketplace where individuals can browse for, buy, and sell new or used items online. So I'll just go through this a bit quick just to keep time in mind. So then the design process where we're using the double diamond design process, and we're just here at the end of deliver. So just a recap on my discover phase. The goal of this phase was to explore the user interactions and experiences with the existing journey from both experienced and new users. So this included desk research, a survey with existing users, and usability testing with new users. And my overall findings from this phase were that people come to adverts with a purpose, and that customers are very overwhelmed by the busy screens and congestion, which you could see on the right there. This is just a video of the existing app as it is, just to kind of give a refresher since everyone might not be as familiar with the app as I am by now. But so then also the findings were that trust and communication is vital between the buyers and the sellers, and customers want a better filter and to search by location, because a lot of times the items can be not remotely close to where the items are or where the people are, as it currently stands. Adverts is also not viewed as a modern brand compared to others due to the poor UI that currently exists. And then the last two are that labeling is extremely important, and clarity on the item status and the product information, and the power of pictures. Pretty much everyone in my testing showed that, and in the survey showed that they wouldn't click into an ad if it didn't have photos, yet that is not a mandatory requirement yet. So then just an overview of the define stage. The goal of this stage was to get a better understanding of what all of my research means, who I'm solving for, and to define the key problem. So through this, I analyzed and synthesized my research. I looked at user personas for both the buyer and seller, as well as empathy maps for each. And I did a prioritization matrix, and then came to my problem statement, which as it stands is that buyers on the Adverts app are facing difficulty finding items because the filtration system is too minimalistic, the screens are too busy and overrun, especially with third-party ads, and users are unable to contact the seller privately before making an official offer. So this is impacting their ability to find items quickly and feel confident in purchasing a secondhand item off of the platform, which can be a risk. So then this begs the question of how might we make the process of filtering and finding items on the Adverts app quicker for buyers so they can buy items more easily. So then on to the develop stage. So the goal of this stage was to look at the journey with solving the problem statement in mind now, and to ideate solutions. So this included customer journey mapping, user flows, and solution exploration and mood board. So my findings through this part of the journey were the key pain points. Sorry, that says paint points there. Where the search and filter, sifting through a lot of unfitting results. So a lot of the customers are not getting the right results because the keywords are not great in adverts, and that has to do with a lot of the overflow in the category section and inconsistency with naming conventions in the search. And then also the inquiry and buy phase. So that's the lack of clarity of item statuses and the logistics to acquire an item. So that would be how one can collect the item or pay for it. So providing more upfront labeling on items and a more thorough filtration system would decrease the browsing time while increasing clarity and confidence for the buyers. So then on to the deliver stage. The goal of this stage was to create the most impactful design changes for the problem statement. And this include design iterations at the sketching level, low fidelity and high fidelity. And I also completed usability testing on the low fidelity prototype. And then I also was able to receive, I was very lucky to receive feedback from my team at AIB. So that's, we do a critique each week, and I offered to demo my low fidelity design and get feedback from my fellow designers at work. So that was super helpful as well. And then further design iterations. So here's just an example of the sketching that I worked on, just very quick kind of sketching to get my ideas all down on paper. And then here is just a quick video of a few of the screens for the very low fidelity demo, or the low fidelity designs that I was able to test with, just to kind of get an idea across of basically what was working, what ideas were needed, and what people thought weren't necessarily needed, and so on. So I did usability testing with 5 users, a mix of existing and new users to the app. And the goal of this was to see if users understood the design updates and pinpoint any areas of possible confusion. So my findings through this were that users were expecting to see recent activity and saved content to speed up their time in the app, especially on existing ad interests. So that was a big one that I hadn't considered. So it was actually great to hear that, and it was mentioned by pretty much, I think, 4 out of the 5. So it was kind of interesting to see one thing that was kind of staring me right in the face I didn't even see because I was probably too close to it. And then just the status of the pills were unclear to give information on where an item was, whether it was sold, available, or whatnot. And the content that I had and the language that I used, it was clear from my testing that it wasn't making it clear to the users that it was about the product rather than their own actions. So if it said offer on something, they didn't realize that it was not their offer, but rather just the status of the item. But users did like the idea of being able to identify the status. It was just a matter of how I can reframe it in a way that is clearer, basically. And then most people also mentioned that they would opt for using categories over the search in adverts specifically, due to the inconsistency in naming convention on adverts. And then the last 2 were that distance is the most important thing to users in the sorting and filtering. And the seller rating is important to all users, but some would consider it more of a second step thing that they would look for, while others would consider it a high priority and they wouldn't even click into an ad without a high rated seller. And then here's just some quotes there as well. So then from my feedback and iterations from my design team at work as well, came up spacing issues. It's a lot of information to fit in a small amount of space. So that definitely was a challenge for me throughout it. And I was not surprised that came up at all. And then the status pale ideation. So this was about the offers and being able to identify where or what was needed to be said for an item to clearly be marked as offer pending or anything like that. And then accessibility issues came up just with sizing due to the amount of information required that I need to look into, and then the same as grouping related content together as well. So then I'll just jump into the prototype here just for a quick example. So this is the look of the new home screen with recent activity, just to make it a lot easier for people to stay up to date with ads that they might have existing, and then saved ads as well, just to keep up to date with the ads that they've been looking at. And they could also swipe to delete these, if that's working right now. And then their saved searches and then recently viewed ads as well. And I broke up the buy and the sell pages to have separate home pages as well, just for, they have very different purposes, and it just made more sense to separate them at the end of the day. So just for an example, going through the filtration system. So if we click in here, then that brings up, we can click through our categories, go through, say, for example, I'm looking for a bike, which is one of the largest selling items on adverts, which is why I chose to go through this one as an example. So then you can go into cycling here, and it has all the subcategories in there. And then that's the last category, so that automatically goes up. And then the location, and you can search by location base, and then it'll show you the results. And then for the price range, this makes it a lot clearer, just to have it go and show the clarity of how many items are actually in, so that you can understand the price range that you're looking for and what it's really going for. And then as well, just the seller information. You can do a minimum rating of stars and the item condition. And then these are some new features as well for high level, but quite important features for that would change per the item. So this would be something that would have to be a long rollout. And the idea in my mind for development wise would be that it would have to start with the largest selling items. For instance, cars do have a more thorough filtration system on adverts right now. So it's just kind of building on that with other items as well. So for instance, bike from there, or color or not. And then instead of having show with photos, the checkbox at the bottom that none of the users in my testing even noticed was there, have it automatically a check that can be updated if someone doesn't care for the images. So then that shows the items, and then you can click into the ad space here. And I'll just actually show you real quick. So this is where you can see the offered or the offer accepted, and that gives you an up-to-date of the amount. So if you're really interested in this bike, you see someone's offered 100, it's your time to go in and snag it for 110 if that's what you want. And then just the ad page here, it's easily able to be clicked and unclicked for saving, shared, and then that information is a lot more grouped and able to be hidden if not interested. And it's I referenced this to existing websites where like ASOS, where there's loads of content, and it's really just kind of breaking up the content into what people are familiar with and being able to get everything in there without overwhelming people with content that they're not extremely interested in just yet. So here's just then this at the comments and offers, again, just focusing on the labeling and showing the status, and then being able to see the seller's info. So that's just a quick demo there. So then just a quick reflection, what I would have done differently. Timing is everything for me. I was out of action for a couple weeks due to surgery, so it's definitely important to stick to the schedule, and it was definitely a challenge getting the 2 weeks out of a 12-week course. So yeah, that was definitely a challenge on my end. So it would have just been better to not have that, but obviously life happens. And then I would prefer to do more testing on the designs. Just one of the learnings that I have as well is that a ton can change from one round of testing. So the value of multiple rounds of testing is immense, and it's super helpful each round of testing at every stage. And then I would like to have been able to do a deeper filter testing and research. Filters are much harder than they look was another main learning for me. I was not expecting it to be as challenging as it was, but it was definitely a head wreck at times. And then I'd like to do more UI exploration and playing around the prototyping as well. So then my main learnings are just the value of the desk research, how much a design can change, the difficulty of filters, and that life happens and you just gotta go with the timing that you have. So then next steps are just, I would like to do some more UI updates and finalizing the prototype to have it fully functional, and ideally do more testing on the high fidelity designs, and then the case study, a reflection. And then that's a wrap. Any questions?
That was great, Emily. Well done.
Thanks, Val.
Amazing, amazing project. Dave, do you want to go first?
Sure, yeah. Well done, Emily. That was really good. Really, really good.
Awesome.
Yeah, just to say, like it was a pleasure working with Emily. I really enjoyed it, and she's had a tough couple of weeks with being in hospital, but I think her planning and her process was just really kind of well thought out at the start of the project, and she planned ahead and managed to deliver a really good project on time. So well done on that. So, yeah, as I said, I really enjoyed working with you. So, congratulations.
Thanks.
Hope you're proud of yourself. You should be.
Thanks, Dave.
Thanks, Dave. That was great. Does anyone have any questions for Emily? Ash, do you want to go first?
Yeah. Hey, Emily. Well, not so much questions, more feedback, but just that was really, really good. And you could really see, I like how you told the story of the project, and you could really see how your insights from your research fed through to the final solution. I thought that was a really nice insight around the location and how you incorporated into the final design. And I really like that at the end you reflected on what you do differently, and I actually think that's really key, because for any projects that I do, any projects ever, and still currently, after the project is done, I'll still reflect on, what could we have done differently there. So I think that's a really good habit to get into, and it's really nice to see you pulling those things out. So well done getting to the finish line, and great project as well.
Thanks, Ashlyn.
That was great, Sash. Aoife?
Hey, Emily.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just want to say it was such a good presentation. And from someone who's been also staring at filter screens, your filter screen's really good. And yeah, particularly the price range thing. I think that's such a cool, and like that would be so handy. Like if you actually were looking for something to actually see how many results are going to come up with the price range. So yeah, really good stuff. Looks really good.
Very good. Thanks, Aoife. Peter?
Thanks, Val. Well done, Emily. I thought it was really interesting, and that prototype is massive. There's so much in there. A couple of notes I had were I really liked the way you mentioned your learnings at the end, as well as the reflections, because that's what it's about, I guess, so that was really nice to highlight those, as well as the demo at the start of the as is. That was really clear for us to see visually what actually was the problem. Is sometimes we miss out on that. It's just understanding the text on the screen and what you're saying and how it relates to the digital product. So that was really cleverly done at the start. Well done.
Thanks, Peter.
That's great. Yeah, I'll go next. I have a few notes here as well. I as Peter, I thought as well that it was very, very helpful that you had those kind of side videos while you were presenting your issues on the existing app. I thought it was very cool. And final solution, how you blended, like, as Ash said, like you had the entire story, you spoke about the problem, you had the solution at the end, and it kind of flew really nicely. And also the fact that you blended kind of your final solution and it looked completely on brand, that's not easy. So fair play to you on that. Like it really requires a lot of experience and a lot of knowledge to do that. Price range, as well as Aoife said, that was great. And also how you kind of thought as well about grouping information. And I'm not sure if on any of those of usability testing, did you get any feedback that somebody wanted those accordions open, when you had in item details, shipping information? What else was there?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was a few of the testers kind of mentioned, like I was asking, what information on the screen was important to them, and they were kind of saying like, I don't need this right now. Like I only need it when I know I want to buy the item. So that's kind of where I started looking at the other websites, like large shopping websites with tons of information, and it was pretty consistent. Like if you look at any like Zara or ASOS or any of the large shopping brands, they all kind of have a very consistent, where it's the information about the product, and then it's like the details, like the material or how to wash it, and then it's the information about like delivery or returns and things like that. So I tried to kind of mimic that to kind of keep in line with it is still a marketplace, regardless of it being a secondhand marketplace. So I thought it would be familiar to people So that's kind of was my thought process with going through that.
Oh yeah, fair enough. No, yeah, I was just wondering, did you get anything on that? But yeah, all in all, great job. Kudos to both yourself and Dave, like really amazing and well done. I kind of noticed now that all three projects had something with filters tonight. So filters, as much as is the thing that it's around since forever and we all use it every day, but it's still very difficult to kind of tackle it and to create a proper solution. So fair play to everyone. So to all three of you. That's all for tonight. As I said, tomorrow we have 5 people presenting, and tomorrow, we'll also kick off the voting. So that's it, guys. Hope everyone can join as well tomorrow. Any questions, anything else that you want to raise, just feel free to DM me. Okay? And best of luck for everyone who's presenting tomorrow then. Thanks.
Well done, everyone.
Well done.
Well done.
Well done.
Bye.
You guys.
Thanks, Val.
Yeah.
Thank
Well
you.
done, guys. Bye.
Guys.